During the 1980-1981 school year at Sparta High School in Sparta, Illinois, a jazz band was formed that provided great entertainment for everyone in the Sparta community. The creation of the group was the brainchild of junior trombonist Brent Wallerab and his passion for jazz music. When the band met, it was not a class during the school day itself, so members had to arrive to Sparta High's band room at 7 in the morning to practice their tunes. And music teacher Mr. Vern Antry played with the group that Brent recruited some very fine musicians to join. The newly formed group soon found themselves performing at a wide variety of places, including local churches, such as Westminster Presbyterian Church. There were also gigs at the Sparta Midwinter Classic, meetings of various community groups, and other venues. These musicians were very busy students involved in many things, so the membership was not always the same when practicing or performing. Along with Mr. Antry, 5 or so of the musicians made up the core element in the band, a band that could always be counted on to spread the joy of jazz music throughout the Sparta community. 2 tunes that audience members especially enjoyed were Satin Doll and In the Mood. I had some very close friends in the jazz band and absolutely loved listening to them perform. This video is a tribute to everyone who participated in the band that year, whether they were there always or only when able. Amazingly, 3 of these musical Sparta Bulldogs would become professional musicians. On at least one occasion, the jazz band did a live performance from the studio of WHCO Radio in Sparta. It's likely this performance occurred in the middle of April of 1981 during the Easter Seals Radiothon locally orchestrated by station manager Jack Shepper. In participating in the Radiothon, the jazz band was doing its part in helping raise money for children with disabilities, as well as veterans, military families, senior citizens, and caregivers. The day my friends were to play on WHCO Radio, I thought a couple of them might really enjoy hearing how they sounded on air. So I held my cassette recorder as still as I could to my radio at home and recorded the first of several songs they played that day. Whether I ever played it for my friends, I don't recall. But I did keep that old cassette tape even 4 decades later. So let's go back in time and enjoy a tune from the 1980-1981 Sparta High School Jazz Band.
Sparta High Jazz Band, and we'd like to start off this morning by playing a count basie type number called Walkin' Home in a Sparta Bill. Thank you very much. We're very much in it. And the jazz band from Sparta High. That was really wonderful.
There's a story that I would like to share that is not necessarily about the jazz band, but it is about Mr. Antry. It is a story that is near and dear to me. One night during a basketball game, I left my brand new coat in the band room while the pep band played. Who knows, it may have been one of those occasions when the jazz band played at halftime. Anyway, I decided not to go back to the band room until after the game. When I returned, the door was locked and Mr. Antry had gone home for the evening. So I found myself walking home in the dead of winter with no coat. The next day, Mr. Antry told me that someone had told him that they knew who the coat belonged to, and he gave it to them to return. Whoever that person was never returned the coat to me, and no one came forward to say they were the person, and I was left without a winter coat. To make matters worse, my mom had been out of work for several months and could not afford to buy me a new one. Meanwhile, Mr. Antry promised to keep looking for it. I borrowed my mom's coat a couple of days and wore a thin jacket on the other days. Those days were cold and not fun. After about a week, Mr. Antry told me that if no one came forward with a coat, he would get me another one. Then one morning when I showed up for jazz band practice, Mr. Antry told me to follow him into his office/equipment room, where he presented me with a brown paper bag with a blue puffy coat inside. I was so happy to get that coat. I thanked him over and over again. A few days later, I saw Mr. Antry arriving at the school. I noticed that he didn't have this familiar blue coat that I was used to seeing him wear, but instead he was wearing an old black trench coat. At that moment, I realized that he had literally given me the coat off of his back. It was a powerful moment, and one filled with a range of emotions: guilt, shame, love, happiness, and sadness. As a teen, it was very hard to reconcile all of this. I had taken his coat so that I could stay warm. As an adult, I came to realize that he had given me much more than a coat. The idea that he cared is a gift that still rewards me today.
Thank you very much. Very much, and the jazz band from Sparta. Fine. That was really wonderful.